Hey, what's up and how's it going, all MRBers? I'm Mike McRock for the McRock and Bolt Wrestling Review Show, and I'm about to give you my review as well as the results of this episode of Monday Night Raw. And if there's one thing that I took away from watching this episode is that WrestleMania is shaping up what looks like to be a good WrestleMania. I'm sold. So normally when I do these Raw reviews, I usually start from what happens at the beginning of the show, and then I go right to what happens at the end. But for this review, I'm going to kick it off with, to me, was one of the greatest things I've ever seen on any Raw on any given week. And that was the Daniel Bryan promo with the Occupy Raw Yes movement. Tremendous. One of the most memorable segments that happened on any episode of Monday Night Raw. The only little issue I had with this segment was that this would be a perfect way to go out as the final segment on Raw. But like I said, this was a great thing that happened on Monday Night Raw. One of the most incredible revolutionary movements, in my opinion. And I like how it came about too. Earlier on the show you had the Authority come out and basically saying that that Daniel Bryan needs to apologize for what happened last week. And Daniel Bryan came out and he declines the apology because he wants Triple H at WrestleMania and says he's not going to leave the ring until he gets what he wants. And I like how he played on the cliche of it because everyone says that. And he meant that literally because he had everyone wearing his t-shirts coming to the ring, and outside the ring there had to be at least a lot of people, around 50 people surrounding the entire ring and outside the ring. It was really one of the most greatest things I've ever seen on Raw. And what happened was that the Authority came out and they answered Daniel Bryan's call. They were poking fun at everyone that was in the Yes movement in and outside the ring. And there was even a moment where Stephanie McMahon tells security to get out here to get rid of all these people, and only two guys came out. And they only went so far until they were like, screw this, we're not doing it. They walk out, and Triple H said, everyone get out, let's get the next match going. Out comes Damien Sandow, and Daniel Bryan was like, come on Sandow, you know you wanted to join us, and he couldn't go anywhere at all. And the Authority was in his face, they were in everyone's face. Stephanie was yelling, get out of the ring, etc, etc, etc. And I think that I also enjoyed how Triple H pretty much was at his boiling point up until now, and he said that he really didn't hate Daniel Bryan. He liked Daniel Bryan, and he said that he was been protecting him since SummerSlam because you never know what the fans and blah 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 blah. And he gets his wish. He gets his match with Triple H at WrestleMania. But wait, there's more. Daniel Bryan says that he also wants to be in the championship match at WrestleMania if he beats Triple H. That stipulation is finally made, and I think the fans go home happy with this segment on Raw. To me, this sold WrestleMania, and this was the not only was this was the highlight on the night, this segment to me sold the entire WrestleMania card. Not only do we have Triple H versus Daniel Bryan, but to me, the way I thing WWE will save WrestleMania is to put Daniel Bryan in the title match. They have no choice. You have to have Daniel Bryan go over Triple H and have him in the title picture at WrestleMania. I mean, the fans, let's just put it this way, the fans are going to butcher, chew out, and spit up Batista versus Randy Orton. A guy that just came back and now all of a sudden the fans don't like him in Batista. And you have Randy Orton, who is technically a heel, and somehow he's getting a little bit of cheers but not too much, and to me that just doesn't sound very well. Even though it's the WWE wanting what they want to do, I think ultimately when they listen to the fans, they'll give them what they want, and that was the case here on Monday Night Raw. They're going to give us Triple H versus Daniel Bryan, and we'll see what happens at WrestleMania going forth. And like I said, this segment was one of the most memorable things that really stands out on this show. And I'm just at a loss for words to keep going on and on and on. I can keep going on and on about the whole Daniel Bryan and the Occupy Raw segment, so I'll just continue on. This is a review. Let's move on. Another great thing I really did enjoy about this episode of Raw was this segment with The Undertaker and Paul Heyman. The Undertaker came out, and before he got to say anything, Paul Heyman showed up on the stage, and he done a great speech. He sold it very well. He mentioned how important the streak is and how historic it is, and he mentioned other big names like Stone Cold, Rock, and other people like that who has streaks at WrestleMania. He forgot to mention Rob Van Dam. I'm a little surprised there because he is a Paul Heyman guy, but still, I think that Paul Heyman told a great story on this segment of Monday Night Raw. I like on The Undertaker's comeback, he said that that the greatest fear of the unknown is the greatest fear of all, and Brock Lesnar will rest in peace. I liked how Undertaker kept it short, and to me, when the Undertaker doesn't speak as much, he can only speak very little. I like it because it adds the mystique to his character, and you let Paul Heyman do all the talking. And I thought this segment was very, very great. It was very, very simple. They kept it simple, and it made for great television. And another great thing that happened on Raw, there was a couple of good matches I really did enjoy. One of them was The Shield, Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins versus Cody Rhodes and Goldust. It was a great quality match with a great ending, with a great moveset with these guys. The only little nitpicky thing I have is I think that Seth Rollins should change his finisher. I think it's a little weird. It don't feel like a finisher, someone laying your boot, smashing your head onto the mat. And that could be used as something to build up to a finisher, and have Seth Rollins then apply something really outstanding that sticks out. I'm not really quite sure what it could be, but I think Seth Rollins needs to change his finisher, and for the love of God, I cannot badger the audience anymore. Just stop chanting CM Punk's name when a good quality match is going on. Just stop, please. Other than that, I think this was a good way to have these tag teams go face each other on Raw. I thought it was a great quality match. And another match I thought was very entertaining was the Sheamus and Christian match in a Memphis Street Fight. And the only nitpicky issue I had was the voting poll. I mean, can you make it a lot more obvious? Of course, a lot of fans are going to vote on the Memphis Street Fight other than the other two. Well, I think one of them was a 2 out of 3 falls match. That would have been good to see. But, like I said, it's pretty obvious to see where this voting was going to go, and it was obvious at that. But I thought, like I said, this was a great street fight these two had. To me, this was one of the greatest matches Sheamus and Christian had with each other. I like the use of the Singapore canes, the chairs, even the guitars, and the bass drum bro kick at the end was a good spot as well. And like I said, this was a really good match between Sheamus and Christian, the best I've seen these two work a match. And I think if this continues going into WrestleMania, they should top this match. But if not, if they're involved in the Battle Royal, which I will get to later on, that'll be okay as well. Also on the show, we saw a match between AJ Lee and Tamina versus the Bella Twins, and it was just an okay match where the Bellas went over, and the one thing I question is, what did AJ Lee do to get this kind of treatment week after week after week after week? Every time she's in a match, she keeps losing on Raw, and she's the Divas Champion. Logic much? For the love of God, if you want to build your Divas Champion, you have her win matches, not lose matches. Ridiculous. And the way they ended it too, you had Nikki Bella holding the Divas Championship and facing off with Natalya. And AJ Lee is going into main event to face Natalya for the Divas Championship. I think that they should kill the pain now and make Natalya the Divas Champion. Please. Kill her pain, WWE. Just kill it. Also on the show, we saw the opening. I thought the opening was it was cool. It was interesting. What happened was Hulk Hogan came out. He promoted the network, and he started talking about Andre the Giant, and he mentioned his historic match at WrestleMania 3 when he body slammed Andre the Giant and stuff like that. And he made the big announcement of an over-the-top battle royal for WrestleMania, 30 guys, and the winner of this will receive a trophy of Andre the Giant. And this will be interesting to see. I think the idea of having a battle royal, 30-man over-the-top battle royal at WrestleMania, is great because there's a lot of superstars in the WWE will not likely be on the card when it comes to any one-on-one matches or tag team matches. So I think this is a good way to showcase your superstars on Raw and SmackDown. And going on, you had John Cena come out. He was putting Hulk Hogan over. So over it wasn't even funny. If you like that kind of stuff, go right ahead. And after that, Wyatt family came out, and Bray Wyatt cut a really good promo, talked about pride and how it's a deadly sin, and calling John Cena and Hulk Hogan both liars, and who fills up hope to the fans, and it's false hope, and Cena's legacy will die. And I like that line Bray Wyatt said, "If you look into my eyes, John Cena, you will see God." And the way John Cena, to me, reacted to it just felt like a ripoff of the Rock comedy that never really sold it very well. The dynamic looks good between both guys, John Cena and Bray Wyatt, going into WrestleMania, but it's just the way John Cena came back. I mean, Bray Wyatt done a convincing and compelling promo, and John Cena's rebuttal to it was comedy. He poked fun of him being Jimmy Buffett in a Margaritaville, something weird like that. It was just ridiculous, I thought. And earlier John Cena threw in his hat for the Battle Royal, but then changed his mind, and he wanted to face Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania. I thought to me, that was a better way to put John Cena at WrestleMania. You don't want him to be a filler guy in a battle royal. You want him to face someone in a singles competition where hopefully the other guy goes over, because Bray Wyatt has been nothing but great ever since he debuted, ever since the Wyatt family debuted on Raw. And to me, if you put Bray Wyatt over John Cena, that would really boost his career. Hopefully that does happen. Also, and after that, we saw a match between John Cena and Eric Rowan, and you had Hulk Hogan in John Cena's corner, and it was only a very short match. They never really done anything for me, other than that Eric Rowan showcased a little bit, but not too much, and it was just very short. It was anticlimactic, where John Cena went over. It was just, I'm not going to go any further. You also had the Usos taking on Ryback and Curtis Axel, and that was pretty much the Usos squashing Ryback, and Ryback and Curtis Axel threw their names in the hat, and now they're in the Battle Royal. And the Usos will have a match with the New Age Outlaws sometime in the near future, probably at WrestleMania. The one thing I really don't like is that it's not going to be the same, because the Usos winning, I can understand the Usos winning last week, the tag team titles, but I think they could have savored it for WrestleMania and had that moment happen at that time instead of on Raw. And to me, the Usos, to me the Usos winning the championships now as opposed to WrestleMania, it's just okay. And the Usos versus the New Age Outlaws, well, likely to happen at WrestleMania. Like I said, it won't be the same as opposed to the Usos winning the titles at WrestleMania. And I'll just move on from now. I'm just rambling. You also had Big E versus Jack Swagger. I thought Big E Langston throwing his name in the hat for the Battle Royal, I don't think he should, because I think the Intercontinental Championship should be defended at WrestleMania. And to me, that diminishes the Intercontinental Championship, having the Big E Langston being in a Battle Royal instead of competing and defending his championship. And you also had Zeb Coulter telling Cesaro. Here's the interesting part of this match. Zeb Coulter telling Cesaro to interfere in the match, and he says no, he does not want to interfere. And Jack Swagger is yelling at him, saying, "What are you doing?" And I'm not doing anything, right? And Swagger's thrown off guard. Big E pins him 1, 2, 3, and they're setting up the whole Cesaro turning babyface. I like what they're doing with them, and I'm interested to see if those two will go one-on-one at WrestleMania, or if there will be in the Battle Royal. And like I said, they're leaving that open. To me, it would make more sense if Cesaro faced Jack Swagger to have his moment at WrestleMania as opposed to being in a Battle Royal, because if he's in a Battle Royal, I think the logical thing to do is have him either win the Battle Royal or have him come close to winning. But I think, to me, it would make more logical sense if they have Cesaro have his big moment to go over Jack Swagger if he faces him at WrestleMania. And also on the show we had Bray Wyatt. He had his promo, how he mentioned that Hulk Hogan and John Cena are very similar, But he also mentioned that John Cena is a monster and that monster needs to be unleashed, and he accepts John Cena's challenge for WrestleMania. And I really do enjoy this segment as well. Bray Wyatt being creepy, and him singing "Time Is On My Side" was great. And he also mentioned that John Cena has everything to lose, and that Bray Wyatt is forever. I love how on this episode of Raw, they're shaping up WrestleMania. You have John Cena versus Bray Wyatt, Daniel Bryan versus Triple H, and so on and so forth. Undertaker, Brock Lesnar, the WWE World Heavyweight Championship match. And we get to the final segment on the show. It was the tag team match. Batista, Randy Orton versus Daniel Bryan in the Big Show. And at this point, to me, the fans didn't react as well as they did with the Daniel Bryan the promo earlier in the show. But it was still an okay way to go out. You have Daniel Bryan standing tall in the middle of the ring. Yes, yes, yes. And you also had Batista spearing his own partner Randy Orton, and that sets up the whole match between the two of them and possibly the triple threat, putting Daniel Bryan in it. And I think overall, this was a really good episode of Monday Night Raw. I just wish that they would have had the Daniel Bryan promo, the Occupy Raw segment, last. It would be a great way to go out. And they had that opportunity to do it, but they didn't take it. And that was the only nitpicky issue I had. But overall, this episode of Raw, like I said, was really, really great. They established pretty much every single thing that's happening at WrestleMania. And I would definitely give this rating of this episode of Monday Night Raw Wrestling-tacular. And if you saw this episode of Monday Night Raw, what did you think about it? Whatever you thought, comment below, let me know. While you're at it, you can follow MRB Wrestling on Twitter. You can hit that subscribe button down below this video, and you can like the Mick Rock'n'Bolt Wrestling Review Show on Facebook. And on a final note to all you viewers watching, get plenty of rest. And always do your best.